Hey everybody, Dr. Jared Skowron from Spectrum Awakening. We're going to be talking about my favorite topic, which is brain chemistry and how we provide the nutrition for the brain to function. So let me kind of start out with just some overalls, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty. I got a lot of scientific research studies to show you today, but I'm really excited because while autism affects a lot of parts of the body, you know, when we help a child with autism medically, we need to look at their diet, we need to look at their gut infections and their gut health, we need to look at their mitochondria and their hormones, and if there's an autoimmune issue, we need to look at their genetics, we need to look, did I mention mitochondria again? I'm trying to get everything in my brain. But the major part of the body that's affected with autism is the brain. It's the entire nervous system, okay? Because it's this brain that's in this skull of ours that helps us learn to do all the things in life that we want to learn, like talk and listen and interact with our world. And interacting with our world can be sensory feelings. It can be motor function, all right? Not only do we need our brain to think, to listen, to comprehend, to focus and concentrate, to speak, to feel, to sleep, it also, the brain connects to all the nerves in the rest of our body. So how we feel the world, not just how we feel the world with like sensory issues and tags in the back of our shirt, but feeling if we have to go to the bathroom and potty training, you know, and also the signals that go from our brain to everywhere else. So our motor function, and do we have problems with fine motor skills, or are we always coloring like this, you know, or even the motor skills of going to the bathroom, all right? So it's really important that we get the brain to function well, okay? So there are great natural ways to make the brain function better, okay? And obviously there's a lot of pharmaceuticals out there that will affect how the brain functions, and many of your kids may be on things like ADHD stimulants like Ritalin, or perhaps sedatives like guanfacine, perhaps major sedatives like risperidone, or things to help you sleep like clonidine. So, or antidepressants even like, you know, Prozac or Lexapro. So many different medications affect the brain, but we can do this naturally, all right? And how we do this naturally is by giving the brain the food it needs to function, okay? So the brain works on all these different chemicals. So there's all these chemicals in the brain that some make the brain go faster, some make the brain go slower, some make the brain scared, some make the brain courageous. A lot of different things going on with these different chemicals. And what always blows my mind is that we are what we eat. Our entire body is made of the foods that we eat, whether it be our skin, whether it be our bones, whether it be the chemicals in the brain that create emotion and happiness for me, or joy, or anger, or sadness, okay? All of that is from the foods that we eat, which is pretty cool. Obviously, we do have some conscious control over those things, especially our emotions and obviously our physical body, but then some things are out of our control, because if we don't have the right fuel, then we can't make those things work. So what I want to talk about is the different brain chemicals that we do have, how they're associated with autism, and different supplements, natural things that we have that can help you get better, okay? So let's start here with a research study just from 2 years ago, okay? This is called the neurochemistry of autism. And the neurochemistry of autism says state-of-the-art research finding about the neurobehavioral alterations in autism etiology include things with GABA, things with glutamate, things with serotonin, things with dopamine, things with melatonin, vitamin D, acetylcholine, and a few others I didn't highlight, okay? I highlighted the ones we're going to talk about today. So we're going to be talking about serotonin, we're going to be talking about dopamine, we're going to be talking about GABA. All these chemicals are part of the neurochemistry of autism. And we need to make sure that they are in the correct levels, okay? We don't want anything too low, we don't want anything too high, we want everything just right. It's just like Goldilocks, okay? Not too little, not too much, just right. So let's start out with the one that I think is the most important, which is serotonin, okay? Serotonin is a chemical in your brain that creates calmness, creates relaxation. All right, most people think of it as the happy hormone. You know, you eat a bunch of turkey at Thanksgiving, it has a lot of tryptophan. That tryptophan turns into serotonin, and you get this feeling of calmness and sensation. All right, so, excuse me. I also find serotonin helps a lot with language. All right, so I think the more serotonin that we get, the more language we're going to get. So here are some research studies on serotonin and autism. And again, I just want to make sure I read this correctly. Early disturbances in the serotonin system affect cortical brain development, in autism and pediatric epilepsy. So not only is serotonin important with autism, but it's also important with if you have seizures, if your child has seizures, whether it be full-blown grand mal and you're on Keppra or 10X or something, or whether it's an absent seizure, okay? Here's some more. That was a new study. Excuse me, here's an older study. This one's from 1996, going back to my college days, all right? The serotonin system is a big issue, especially when it comes to causing and worsening of stimming or stereotypy behavior. So even back over 25 years ago, science knew serotonin had to deal with autism and stimming, all right? And we really want to boost those serotonin levels up. Here's another research study that shows developmental disruptions of serotonin may be involved in autism, especially talking about here how hyposerotonin or low serotonin levels may be as relevant to the development of sensory and motor and cognitive abilities in our kids with autism, okay? So what do? If our kid does have low serotonin, we think they may have serotonin, okay? What we want to do is increase that. So the easiest way to do that is with a protein called 5-HTP. So 5-HTP is an amino acid. It's a protein that will make serotonin in your brain, all right? The brain takes it and uses it to make it. Very simple. If you had peanut butter and jelly and bread in your house, you'd make peanut butter jelly sandwiches. So the brain takes this 5-HTP and bam, all of a sudden it's going to be serotonin. We have a chewable 5-HTP supplement called Super Serotonin Support. It also has a little bit of B6. We're going to be lowering that level. It has a little bit of glycine, and then it's got some natural cherry flavor. So all the ingredients are on our website, but if you want a chewable tablet for 5-HTP, it works with a lot of our kids, okay? And here's a research study giving 5-HTP. So this is serotonin hypofunction into autism, the 5-HTP challenge test. What they did was they gave kids 4 milligrams per kilogram. So if your kid's 40 pounds, that's about 20 kilos. They gave them about 80 milligrams, round that up to about 100 milligrams. I think you can give more, but just to give you a ballpark, they did mention that autism is accompanied with a central serotonin hypoactivity, and that the latter could play a role in the pathophysiology of autism. Big words for saying 5-HTP in their trial helped kids, so we feel, the researchers, that serotonin must be a problem with autism because we gave 5-HTP, we got more serotonin, things improved. Okay, so that's serotonin, so let's put that aside. Next, we've got a dopamine hypothesis of autism. Somebody just mentioned, Keisha just mentioned dopamine, okay? This talks about not just autism, but how pandas can come from dopamine dysfunction, okay? And providing dopamine modulators to kids with autism should lead to behavioral improvements, all right? Why? Because dopamine is associated and required for reward processing, behavioral learning, and other type of behaviors. Did I read that right? Behavior learning and other type of behaviors which are disrupted. Yes, so as this research study says, dopamine is involved with that type of issues with our kids. Now, dopamine can go one way or the other, all right? What happens, and it really depends on your SNP genetics, depends on your MTHFR levels, depends on your COMT and your MAOA mutations, but there's different things that we can do. Number one, you can increase dopamine levels. This would be very similar to giving like an ADHD supplement, like a Ritalin or Concerta, where we're really stimulating dopamine activity in the brain. We can make more dopamine. We use our attention on the double supplement. So this attention on the double will make more dopamine in your brain. Some kids are very sensitive to the dopamine and it causes a lot of hyperactivity. It causes a lot of sleep problems, causes a lot of anger in your behavior problems. Those kids probably have too much dopamine effect and we need to lower their dopamine levels. So we do that with another supplement called anger management. So anger management will help reduce higher dopamine levels, okay? With serotonin, we normally don't see low or high levels. We usually see low levels or normal levels. We often will give our serotonin support and see improvements. Kids with their dopamine issues, some of them improve when we increase their dopamine. Most of them improve when we decrease their dopamine. So we decrease it with our anger management. We increase it with our attention on the double. Sometimes we do both, okay? Sometimes we do both because the attention on the double does help with focus and with motivation, but we need to temper down the side effects, so we use that with that. So sometimes we use a combo. You can also, if B vitamins are your issue, some kids do really well on B vitamins because B vitamins work with all of these proteins to get produced in the brain. We can give different B vitamin supplements. We also have a new cream. So we have our MTHFR cream, and this has B vitamins in a cream. So it's not another supplement. You can just rub this on at night. Actually, I would rub it on in the morning because it's stimulating, and see if that helps. All right. Excuse me, a little mucus today. So that kind of covers serotonin, that covers dopamine. Next, I want to talk about one other brain chemical, and that I think is also really important, and I've been treating this one for a long, long time. It's GABA. Okay, now GABA is another brain chemical that creates calmness, creates relaxation, and also helps with anxiety. All right, so decreased GABA concentration in children with autism. All right, and we're going to be seeing a lot of these studies where GABA is very low in kids with autism. This one says the ratio of GABA to creatinine, but basically the levels of GABA were significantly lower in autism than the control subjects. So this tested kids with autism, kids without autism, and saw much lower GABA levels. Here's a research study that talks about brain GABA levels across multiple psychiatric disorders. Not only does this affect autism, and brain GABA levels were lower in autism, but also a lot of other type of psychiatric issues have low GABA levels, and that really increases people's anxiety and such. Here's another one about GABA estimation in the brains of children with autism that talks about regional differences in GABA levels in the autistic brain, primarily in the auditory center, and to a lesser extent, the motor center. All right? Maybe that's why I don't listen too well. You know, I don't have enough GABA in my auditory center. But, you know, the auditory center is so keyed into the language center. They're literally next to each other in the brain. So if you can't hear things, can you then convert that into language? And will GABA help? It does in some kids. All right. Not only helping with language and mood, but tactile hypersensitivity, or our kids with sensory issues, okay? So hypersensitivity of tactile touch and GABA concentrations in autism, GABA concentration in the sensory motor cortex of adults with autism was lower than in neurotypical adults. This highlights the deficiency of GABA in tactile hypersensitivity. Basically means more sensory issues, lower GABA, all right? Not only that, but we've got a common susceptibility factor of both autism and epilepsy, a deficiency of GABA receptors. This talks about mutations in the GABA receptor have been associated with epilepsy and autism. And again, if you have poorly functioning receptors or under-functioning receptors or fewer receptors, really the only thing that we can do is overwhelm them. So we just give more GABA and just kind of push it and see how much we can get. Okay, two more. Here's another one. Reduced GABA and the altered somatosensory function in children with autism. Nothing highlighted in the actual study, but again, more and more research associates low GABA with the sensory issues, all right? So again, what can you do? You can give GABA, all right? In addition to GABA, I would also recommend theanine. Theanine is another protein very similar to GABA. This one was a double-blind placebo-controlled study of a tea that had GABA and theanine using in children diagnosed with autism. So there was a high GABA, high theanine tea, and excuse me, what does it say down here at the bottom? They saw significant improvements in manual dexterity, as well as improvements in balance and sensory response. Okay, so there's what that one highlighted as well. So giving GABA and giving theanine can also help with these sensory issues and with the mood and with the calmness. Now, two of our new supplements that we just came out with last month are a chewable GABA, if you don't want to be swallowing pills, and a chewable theanine, okay? I feel the GABA works more than the theanine, but obviously everybody's a little different, so you never know till you try. And I want to encourage you guys to try our supplements. The Spectrum Awakening brand I developed for my patients in my office. Okay, we started 8 years ago, and all of these are what I use with my patients, so I really have good clinical experience on what they work for, how they work, and we believe in them so much, we've got a 30-day return policy. So if you want to try something for your kid and it doesn't work, or they don't like the taste, or you change your mind, doesn't matter. 30 days, send it back. Because honestly, I would rather you try our stuff that I use with my patients in my office and have it not work and send it back, and then we can keep trying new things, okay? What's most important is that you guys do as much as you can and try as many things as you can to help your kids so you know exactly what's gonna work for them.